talk a little bit about, you are certainly a seasoned veteran of ministry in New England. It's for sure that the cultural and spiritual environment in Boston, greater Boston, has changed a great deal since you first began ministry here. In your opinion, what are some of the most significant challenges facing the church today, at this moment in our cultural and historical life as a nation?
Well, the church has to recognize that the society is changing, that we can't expect that what was done 2 or 3 generations ago will continue to appeal to this generation. And the church generally is one of the more conservative institutions in any society.
Yes.
And it tends to be the molders of culture. So quite often it's holding on to the past rather than seeing the opportunities to move into the future and to utilize those situations that are there. So we have a situation now where, for example, the statistics indicate that about 18,000 pastors a year leave the ministry altogether after their first church or their first charge. That there is something that is not working out as far as the young pastors being able to navigate the obstacles that are there in those churches because they have not been adequately prepared, I believe. And, you know, as I speak to young ministers, you have to go into a situation with humility, not thinking that you know it all. Observe, learn from the people that are there, gradually suggest ways in which we can change, and sometimes it may take 2 or 3 years for some of those ideas to catch on and to bear fruit. But I see a group of committed young men and women who are really challenged by the culture to do something to make Christianity relevant. And so there are many new churches that are springing up, you know, in the Boston area to meet the particular needs. An older church like mine, 207 years old, is more reluctant to make some of those changes because you have people who have been members of the church for 60, 70 years.
Yes.
And you have to recognize that they are the ones who have built the church in terms of their resources and the time that they've committed. And you can't allow a new generation that is not very constant in terms of carrying out, you know, the task of ministry, to come in and to suggest that these are the things that we want, without realizing that the people who have been there and will always be there are the ones that you have to depend on to give the resources, to pray the prayers, and to show up, you know, at church. So as a pastor, it creates some conflict in my own mind, because I want to be relevant to see the church move forward.
Certainly.
But I also have to recognize,
with respect for the past.
Right, the past is important to those people,
Yes.
and they're not going to always see things the way a younger generation see them.
Yes.
And so I have to try to bridge that by, you know, having some compromises and implementing some things which may not easily be accepted if it is done incorrectly.
Yes.
So I'm a person that believes in change, and I have been perhaps too far out, you know, on a limb, you know, wanting to see changes, and so my people are always constant of what's next for the pastor, because he's trying to move us in a direction. Because, you know, I go to conferences and I read widely, and if something is working for another pastor or church, and it makes sense to me, I want to be able to test it out And so one of the things I will do, I'll say, let's experiment with this, so that at least they will accept it as an experiment.
That's very
but by the time,
they don't have to sign a permanent contract.
Exactly.
Up front. Yes.
But normally it continues on.
That's right.
So you have to use some wisdom in pastoring a church, and identifying with all segments of the congregation,
yes.
and they need to know that you love them, you care for them. And so there's some things that I do which on a regular basis, even last night at 1 o'clock, I was going to the Wenham post office to mail some birthday cards. Every member of my church gets a birthday card, not just a card signed by me, but a postscript with information about them and what my prayers are for them, so that
that's
they look forward to receiving that,
yes.
because they know that I do care and I
yes.
know something about them. So,
yes.
so every person that comes into the church, I have met with them between 3 and 4 times before they get into the church. So I know them.
Yeah.
And I know when they're absent, and I can always look at the congregation and see that they're absent, and will speak with one of my staff persons to say, touch base with that person to see if everything's okay.
That's the heart of a true pastor.